Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. This week we're going to be looking at an exciting topic. I know I always say exciting topic, but this one we're looking at betting on a rookie. Betting on a rookie, a person who's unlikely to get this job done, betting on that person. I'm going to be taking learnings from two people I'm going to be looking at this conversation on. First is Nyati Mteto, who wrote a book on betting on a ducky. Second one is my dear brother. His lessons are very important for this video, and if you want to, please stay tuned for the rest of the video. My name is Lisema Matsietsi. On this week, we're going to be looking at possibilities of you being the unlikely person, but somebody else bets on you. They bet on you even though you are unlikely to get the thing. Whether it could be you are not qualified enough to do the job, or whether it could be you do not have the right know-how or tenure doing this stuff. Whatever the thing is. For lack of a better word, I'm stealing the words that Nyati Mteto summarized his entire life as betting on a ducky. So if you haven't had the chance to listen to him talk, if you haven't had a chance to follow him on LinkedIn, if you haven't had a chance to actually read his book, I'm just gonna try to summarize his story here. Number one, who is Nyati Mteto? Nyati Mteto, today we know him as a CEO. He was a CEO of MTN, just to name the few. In fact, let me just take it back. He was a big shot in Microsoft South Africa. He left Microsoft South Africa and went into MTN Telecommunications, where he was the CEO of MTN South Africa. He left that and then he went into Altron, where he became the CEO of the family-owned business. But before that, he summarizes his life nicely as it all started when somebody betted on him. But him becomes not Nyati Mteto, but betting on what most people used to see, just a black person. He calls it betting on a ducky. Long story short, he was born in the Eastern Cape. He got educated. He found himself overseas. But before overseas, he got into university in South Africa. He found himself in one of the programs where he worked for SAB. He did his further studies with SAB. I think SAB has already helped a lot of people. A lot of our leaders that we know started with that little bit that South African Brewery Miller gave them that, that push. He was one of those that started with the push, but it was way back in the 90s, just after democracy started. So from there, he majored in mechanical engineering. So he's an engineer. He did his master's in mechanical engineering. And when he got to either SAB or one of the companies, he got a leadership position, just a low entry level manager. So he went overseas and then he furthered his studies. He also got an opportunity to stay overseas. That's where, as far as I understand his story, that's where the betting goes in, because he goes into this elaborative thing where he have all these managers, well-known people in the organization that actually took a chance on him to say, we're going to send Nyati overseas so that he can actually be the guy who takes over this. The word went around and Nyati found himself going step by step into the organization. It wasn't an easy path. It was like me and you's easy path as we go right now. We're going up the organization, but we're going through what seems like a long route. You go into a development course here, you take up the team leader position, you take out the difficult project, all of that mess. It was all about him. He became what we know now as the CEO of Altron because of his good work that he did with Microsoft South Africa and everywhere else. Before he started, there might have been a commotion to say, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Are we really sure he doesn't have a good track record? And one or two people would actually bet on him to say, give this guy a chance, give this guy a chance. As far as I understand it, it went to a point where wherever he has to leave an organization, everybody had good decision that he should not be leaving the organization, because they only then, when he wants to leave, then they understand his work ethic to say, no, this guy is highly his value stream is exactly the same as our one. He should not leave. It's everywhere else where he wants to go, and everybody else is trying to tell him how horrible the next betting is. To say, oh, they're betting on you to go to MTN. No, that's a horrible company. It's full of whatever the case is. Have you looked at what it did in Nigeria? He wants to go to Altron to say, no. Altron is a small company. Why do you want to go there? His whole story he summarizes as betting on a darkie. Second story that I want to look at is my dear brother's story. So my dear brother, I'm going to summarize. I must say this story is shared without his authorization. So this story is as raw as it is. It's my view of him and my appreciation of him. My brother, unlike me, he's not a bookworm. He is a hard worker. Now, there's a difference between a bookworm and a hard worker. Bookworm, it's easy for you to say, here's my certificate, and people can read the certificate, they know what it is. A hard worker, you totally rely on somebody else betting on you. Now, that's where our story comes in. Let's go back to his education side of things. He's done so well. He studied at Rao. And it was unfortunate that somehow, somewhere, something happened in his life and he got kicked out of university. So most of us, when you get kicked out of university, you're thinking that your life is ended. You could, give yourself to alcohol, give yourself to abusing your parents, or just be nothing, or kill yourself in that case. But he didn't. He went, he listened to my sister. My sister said, I have a gig for you in Quest or Cousins. I think it was Quest, which later became Emmanuel. For those who know Quest and Emmanuel, they deal with call center agent. So he started right from the ground as a call center agent. Call center agent, you barely make $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month. That was 2005, 2006. But he kept on going. And you worked in downtown Johannesburg. So it's not the safest place that you can go in, considering the awkward hours. You knock off at 12 at midnight, sometime, all of those things. But he kept on going. Most of the people in a call center environment come in 3 months down the line, they resign. 2 months down the line, they resign. Like, no, this is not for me. I work too hard and too much little, because it's easy job for everybody else to come in. But not him. He kept on going. His work ethic allowed him to become a team leader just like that. Before you know it, he was looking after a lot of people to a point where the organization that he was working for, which is Vodacom, wanted to give him management training through Henley. And at that point, I think he was doing so well, people were betting on him based on his work ethic. At that point, I think he got into a turning point where he said, I think my growth here is limited, because when people look at me, they look at like their product. Like, we groomed you so we can tell you the speed that you must take. If you're moving too fast, we can always reduce. So he, as far as I understood, he said, you know what, I had enough. Let me just go out and look for something. So he went out, he looked for something. Went in, he told them about his experience. But like I said, unlike you and I, when you don't have the papers to show for it, they always take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. So he went, yes, they agreed. They started him. When they started him, to show that they had very little faith in him, on the first day, they called him into a meeting and they said, listen, there are guys that you're going to be managing. They earn almost twice your salary. Imagine that on the first day. And they said, but you must actually manage them. I don't know how you're going to manage, but you must manage them. He went forward, he managed them. The company became so shocked because as he walked in, he identified simple things that they didn't have. The CCMA policy, they didn't have this policy, they didn't have that policy. He went and he fought for the company and saved the company millions of rands. Only then the big shots got shocked, like, wow, this guy who is so cheap is delivering so much. I mean, they were so chuffed up in his first year of starting the work that they sent him to head office in France to go report straight to France. He traveled the world. He went everywhere. His team is across Africa. Kenya, he's got a team. Mozambique, he's got a team. He travels whenever he wants to, just to go set up his team. But all of that was because somebody betted on him. Not because of his book smart or whatever the case is. What does this mean? What does these two stories actually mean for me as an analyst? This is where it hits home. That's why I'm looking in my right. That's the emotional side. This really, really hit home because Most of us, I don't know about you, but as I am as an analyst, you might have the education side of things, and then somehow you feel like there's an invisible wall somewhere where education cannot take you, and you rely on somebody else to bet on you. Whether your story becomes betting on a woman, or betting on a young woman, or betting on a young boy, or betting on a disabled person, whatever the story would be, all of it boils up to betting on a person who's unlikely to be qualified for the work. Summarize my story as simple as this, because I also had a lot of people betting on me to get to where I am. You can look at the story in two ways. Does the person see you as a spouse, or does the person see you as the daughter? It's quite important that we do the distinctions between the two, because most of us, we see ourselves as the son. Okay, let me just break down the whole point. If you are the son, or you're the guy, no other woman is worthy enough for your son, to get married to your son, because you're looking for extra things that a person must have before they get married to your son. Does the person, do they have good ethics? Do they? And all of us we would look at the position and be like, no, it's too little for me. It's not good enough for me. No, this is too junior. This is whatever. And we end up not actually going for that position because we already judged it to say, no, it's not good enough for me. I'm the son, and I'm the head of the family. I must make sure that I get married to the right position that's going to let me fly off, just like that. That's a son mentality. But it's not important that you get a person who sees you as a son. Because if a person sees you as a son, you'll be like one of those Hollywood actors that nobody booked them for the second round. Because nobody thinks that you're good enough for any position. They're like, keep on waiting for the next position, and the next position never arrives. And then before you know it, you've been stuck in the same position for 20 years and you're about to go to retire because you have the son mentality. Seeing you as a spouse. Okay, let's break it down. What do spouses do? Like, let's say for instance, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband is wonderful spouse. Cooks, takes care of the kids, does everything, always on time, smiling, whatever good things that happens to you. I bet you there's one thing that you would do. You will go around and praise that person to everybody, even your in-laws. Yeah, this person is so good. But would you let anybody else take your spouse away from you? The answer is no. If a person sees you as a spouse, I am sure they would not like you to part ways with them. They want you on their right hand. Now, the worst part is, if you have an entry-level job and the people already sees you as a spouse, you're not gonna, if your whole point is, I want to start as a junior analyst until I can have my own task of a senior analyst, the thing is, you're gonna get stuck as a junior analyst for as long as you live, because the person sees you as a spouse. You stick with them for the rest of them until they decide to retire. If they retire, then you are free from spousal duties. Then you can go marry somebody else. When they see you as a daughter, woo, that's the important one. When they see you as a daughter, is quite an important one. Why am I saying that? Is because everybody have faith in their daughter so much that they would want everybody else to try to get married to their daughter. When you come around, you have a good genes, you have good bones. They're like, no, I want to introduce you to my daughter. When you come around and you work hard, you get this and that. No, I need to introduce you to my daughter. No, not I need to introduce you to my son. I need to introduce you to my daughter. That's what most parents do. So if a person sees you as a daughter, you are more likely to get referrals from that person. That person will bet on you most of the time. When you come through, even though you are not 100% a fit for the role or fit for the project, they will still say, I tell you, Lisema Matsietsi will be able to do this like this in a flash. Even if your report on your stuff's got errors, that person will be the first one that stays and say, no, never, not from Lisema Matsietsi. I know him. He is never late, because they are selling their daughters, remember? That's the advantage when they see you as a daughter. Betting on you, whatever your tech line is, betting on a black young boy, young girl, disabled, rookie, whatever your tech line is, only takes place, for as far as I'm concerned, if a person is willing to risk it all, put themselves down so that you can go forward. And that is very, very unlikely to happen, because most people would want you to, they want to understand you first and put you here. This is where as a spouse comes in. And from a spouse, it's more likely that they would start to believe in you so much that they make you a son. To say, I know you want to go to your next position, but I don't think it's good enough for you. When did this happen to me? This happened to me when I had to leave my sales team. There was a key man dependence. The whole sales team relied on me. But I had a conversation, and I shared it once with you guys, with the head of sales, and I said, I have to leave. And he saw me as a son. He was like, this position that you're going to is too junior. This is not a right fit for you. As I'm reflecting on it, he saw me as a son, and nothing was good enough for me. But like I did, I was able to be, what's that Bible story? The son who goes, prodigal son. I became the prodigal son, but who never returned. No, maybe not a prodigal son. It's a horrible example. But I became the son who never came back. I betted on myself, and off I left. But it is quite important that I think as analysts, you start to analyze, you start to understand your team. Does your team see you as a spouse? Does the team see you as a son? Does your team see you as a daughter? If they see you as a daughter, even your flaws will be cemented, made up, elevated, so that we can sell a better story about you. The rest, if you take care of you, your ethics as a person, your work will be taken care of. Doesn't matter how horrible your work could be late, could be low standard, whatever the case is, will be taken care of. But don't rely on you making horrible job, because you will soon move from a son to a child that nobody wants. So I hope this creates clarity, and in terms of who could bet for you, who could help you get that next project, who could help you get that next task that you're looking for, who could help you to get that complicated advanced analytic thing that you always wanted to do, is the person who is willing to be your advocate. If your advocate doesn't have power, it's something else that we have to discuss in the next videos. What do you do then? But for this week, let's just stop it here. Thanks guys for tuning in.